Good evening, everybody. Good evening to those I have not met before. Welcome. This was our first Kimhin outside as the light changes. How wonderful. And at a certain point the breeze came through too, so it's quite relational. Well, we've been studying, some of us have been studying the Diamond Sutra. And that is one of the Prajnaparamita Sutras that we chant the short version of it during some of our services. And the Diamond Sutra is an exposition of the teaching on emptiness, or openness, or direct awareness, unimpeded by concepts, beliefs, words. So it's all about the relationship of language to our direct experience. And our practice really has an emphasis, especially in Zen, on direct experience and becoming aware of all the things that color it and contribute to it feeling problematic, distasteful, difficult to manage. Over time, we get a really good look at this. So the Diamond Sutra is very detailed. I could say it's pretty tedious to read. And one of the reasons is it comes from, it was put together, it was published for the first time 1100 years ago. And it emerged out of the oral tradition. So every phrase is repeated each time it is referred to. So there's so much repetition, which can be an impediment to really gleaning what it is becoming very clearly showing to us about the nature of our mind. So today I wanted to share most of the important points of this, which are words are not the things themselves. And you might hear that and you say, yeah, right, I know. And we know, but we may forget and we may not realize that that is an awareness that can really help us when we're struggling. It can help us to go deeper. And things themselves are impermanent. Words, ideas, beliefs, experiences, all of the information of the senses, impermanent, comes and goes. The body comes and goes. What we name things are not what they are. And if we name and we believe that the name is the whole thing, we leave out most of what we experience. So that's the reason for really looking more deeply into this whole phenomenon of mind. So I thought it would be cool to begin by chanting together the verse of the Diamond Sutra, which you can find on page 74. And chant leader can start us off, and we'll go through it 3 times.
Just to start.
Just with the Incan.
Verse of the Diamond Sutra.
A star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom and a dream. So is this fleeting world. A star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom and a dream. So is this fleeting world. A star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom and a dream. So is this fleeting world. Are you familiar with this chant? And is this something that you've encountered before? It's a lovely description of how we understand the teaching on emptiness, suchness. And these images all have something in common. A star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud. What is it that they have in common?
Impermanence.
Impermanent. What else?
They appear and disappear quickly.
Yeah. Just infinitesimal. Yeah. We can notice all kinds of things in our life during the day and night that appears and disappears quickly. During the course of this talk, we will investigate a few of those. So the image comes from the Diamond Sutra, which is a collection of the Prajna Paramita Sutras. So prajna is the Sanskrit word for wisdom. Paramita is the word for perfection, or fulfillment, or what is actual, what is complete. And prajna paramita is the inspiration for how to live our life, to be completely present, moment by moment by moment, to not miss a beat, except when we do, when we're asleep, when we're daydreaming, when we're planning, when we're deep in thought about something, when we're worrying, so the content of the mind is thrown into the future, thrown into the past, and the quality, the energy of the mind gets constricted and tight, or the heart tightens up. All kinds of things are added to the actual simple, immediate phenomena. And this is what we become more and more aware of. Many of you have been practicing for a long time, and everybody reports how stunning it is to notice what else is going on beside what we just immediately think is going on when we stop and take a look, both internally and externally. So we look into the characteristic of words and how they're thoroughly functional. So it's not, there's nothing wrong with words or using words to describe our experience, but all that we are doing is highlighting that our words about are not the actual. And the actual is only very momentary. It's not fixed, concrete, and unmoving. So an example of that is, have you noticed the full moon this week? Have you looked at the moon? I mean, now it's beginning to what is it, gibbous? It's beginning to go past full, but you say, this is the old, the image that's often used is the teachings are the moon, not the finger pointing to the moon. The teachings are the finger pointing to the moon, but the actual moon The word doesn't even begin to capture what happens when experiencing the moon. And what the moon, how the moon behaves and how it affects. So like, just before it was full, we had a night where there were strands of clouds and there was some swirling going on, and the moon went behind a thick strand and there was a hole, and it looked like it was to me, I mean, this was my mind, it was a dragon. I did a double take. It's like, there's a dragon. Because dragons are made, they're watery, they're fiery, they're always changing shape. There's nothing fixed about their forms. So that was part of the appearance of the moon, was the moon in the dragon's eye. So part of being able to really appreciate our direct experiences, it allows us to really appreciate our moments and the gifts, the surprising gifts that come our way also at times. So the Diamond Sutra is the earliest dated woodblock printing example. It was published in 868 in China, 1,100 years ago, 1,100 years ago. So these words come to us from over 1,000 years ago, and they were put together by human beings, and then they've been translated a number of times and continue to be, and considered and studied and put into practice by thousands of people. It's a series of exchanges between Buddha and Subhuti about the essential nature of all things, and how seeing into this frees us from dukkha, all the various forms of suffering. We can trace a troubled mind to the conventional, habitual point of view, and the point of view that is a delusion that we're separate. When we forget that language is just pointing, and that the words about our experience are not the actual direct experience, not the fullness of it. Think of anything. Strawberry ice cream. Imagine if all you had was the words and you never actually tasted it. In all of the different senses, the sense doors. So the smell of it, can you smell it? If you can kind of imagine smelling it, one of the things that the mind is doing is it's remembering. So there's another thing to appreciate what the quality of remembering is when we pull forward a sense experience that came before. The coolness of it, the softness of it, the softness of ice cream, and the cool slide down the throat. And it's such a, in the immediate direct experience, it's a treasure. So the words, they're helpful, because now you know, I told you what I'm talking about. If I had, that might have been a different way to approach this, is just to describe the sense experience and say, what am I describing? That's what poets can do. Poets can capture without telling you the conventional way of saying something, can capture, can enliven, can transmit directly a primal experience. And the words don't get in the way. Sometimes. So here's a quote from the Dharma Sutra. Even 500 years after the enlightenment of this Buddha, there will be some who are virtuous and wise. And while practicing compassion and charity, they will believe in the words and phrases of this sutra and will awaken their minds purely. Such persons have long ago planted the seeds that lead to this realization. So first of all, it says, over 500 years after the enlightenment of this Buddha. So that's just referring to himself, the most recent and the historical Buddha, which is Shakyamuni Buddha. But there are, 7, in our lineage, there are 7 Buddhas that came before Shakyamuni Buddha. And those who are virtuous and awake and study this sutra believe in the words and phrases. So that's, if language is just kind of empty, then why do we bother to study endlessly? I mean, Zen is outside of words and letters, and yet there are endless amounts of literature in the Zen tradition that we study and we refer to. It is because they point us, they direct our attention, and when skillfully used, to something about our own experience that we miss. Has that been your experience in practice? That since you began to practice meditation and Zazen, you notice a lot more. You're a lot more with your own life. It's more lively, it's more real. It says they will believe in the words and phrases of the sutra and will awaken their minds purely, meaning, I think, directly, that we'll really get it. We'll really get it, what these words are pointing at in our own experience. He's talking about us. We are the some who are virtuous and wise. And what he means by that is we're practicing something that brings relief to suffering on behalf of all beings. Our intention, it's a bodhisattva vow to practice for the benefit of all beings, not just ourselves. So it's up to us. It's up to you and me to slowly get clearer and clearer using these teachings, being really present, experiencing directly to the truth of life unfolding. And the phrase that I love to use when reading any Dharma or using the lingo of Dharma is, what do I mean by? What do I understand this term to be referring to in direct experience? And we can all do that as we practice. We do a lot of chanting of various sutras in our services, and it's really important it's inevitable to think, oh, what is this? Because initially, some of these sutras don't make any sense at all. We're not sure, but as we live with them, they become much more clear what they're referring to in our own experience, in ways that we would not in unconventional ways. So there's another image that we're all pretty familiar with. The Sutra says they should recall that in teaching spiritual truths, the Buddha always uses concepts and ideas in the way that a raft is used to cross a river. Once the river has been crossed over, the raft is no more use and should be discarded. Does that mean we should stop practicing when we have an insight? No. But it's a commentary about the process of awakening, which is an ongoing, and Dogen always says this, continuous practice is the way. It's ongoing. But we shouldn't hold on to the words and concepts, like the word enlightenment. That term can bedevil us for years because we think, there's no hope for me, I'll never be enlightened because I still get annoyed and I still get lonely and sad and all of that. So that's really, that's a problem with some of these terms, is that we take them as real, as opposed to just part of that finger pointing to the actual. It's really important to be able to trust our own experience. But if we make the mistake of thinking that these terms are kind of solid and something other than our experience, if we bring a great idealizing mind to spiritual practice, thinking it's all about just being blissful and unaffected by the cruelty and the ignorance and the greed in the world. I'm so distressed by what's going on, so I must not actually be really practicing well. I don't think so. I don't agree with that. But that's an example of how we can go astray if we really think that these words are something other than pointing us to our direct experience. We don't want to discount our actual experience. It's really interesting. I mean, one of the things that is so poignant to me in my role in the teaching position is being able to kind of encourage people to not to discount their own experience. It's really easy to discount it. Like for instance, let's say you have an attack, an inner critic attack. So you just fall into the misery of blaming yourself or speaking meanly to yourself about something. And thinking, and just your distress and your disapproval, your discounting that's not practice. Well, actually, that is a really essential content in practice. When we see a mind that is self-critical, two things are happening. One, we're believing what the mind is saying. We're believing a voice that has a history. I mean, we all figure over time we know where these voices come from. They're personal in our own biography, and they're also cultural, more often than not. So when they come up, we have the perfect opportunity to say, to bear witness to how I've gotten caught, and also how narrowly held my sense of self is. And that's what practice is. So when we get caught in any state of mind, in any kind of suffering, it's not apart from practice. That is the very practice of realizing, oh, well, this is the quality of mine at the moment. This is the experience that I'm identifying as myself, as self. So he says, Subhuti, he says to Subhuti and the Sangha that's present, these arbitrary concepts and ideas about spiritual things need to be explained to us as we seek to attain enlightenment. Ooh, there are all kinds of traps in that statement. However, ultimately, these arbitrary conceptions can be discarded. These arbitrary concepts and ideas about spiritual things need to be explained. The first thing to take up, and probably many of you have, but maybe have not, I don't know, is what is the understanding of spiritual? What is spiritual? My understanding of spiritual is it's the entirety of everything. It's all in everything. There's nothing left out of spiritual. Spiritual is not just feeling good and being gentle and kind. You know, that's an aspect, but so is getting angry as part of the spiritual path, and coming to know what it is. We don't practice it. We don't throw it around. What we seek is source. That is the way that we word that particular precept, right? Not to enact anger, but to seek its source, which means respect the experience and look into what it's showing about the conditions, the current conditions that you're attempting to respond to. So these concepts need to be explained, which is why we do a Dharma talk. But you know, there's such a thing as a Bodhidharma retreat, which does not have Dharma talks. Bodhidharma sat and faced the wall for 9 years. There was no talking or words or explaining. He just rested in direct awareness. It's the mythic picture. But we get help. I practiced for a long time without any guidance, and when I came across, I had been with a couple of teachers, but when I came across Chozen, she was really dedicated to explaining everything, talking about everything. It was really helpful. It's not the kernel of the awakening experience, but it's really helpful to point us to trust our own experience, to look to our own experience and tell the truth about it to ourselves. You know, not try to pretend, not try to be different than we are. That's picking and choosing and rejecting parts of ourselves, which is not the way. That's not the way. So then he says, a disciple, hold on, let me just see where I am here. If bodhisattvas focus on the teaching with one pointed concentration, they will understand what is essential. What is the essential discernment, the essential thing to realize? A disciple should develop a mind which does not rely on anything. And when he says that, he's referring to the words and the concepts. Don't perch, don't, dig into enlightenment as the reason you're doing your practice. Something other than the breath. Instead, they should use their minds spontaneously and naturally, without being constrained by preconceived notions arising from the senses. That's an interesting statement, arising from the senses. What else do we have? So the senses, the 5 sense gates, and then mind is the 6th sense. Do not be constrained by preconceived notions arising from the senses. So what is our Zazen practice? That's exactly what we do with Zazen. It's like, let's take a moment now and look into this. Just an example of it. Settle into your own breath. Maybe lower your eyes so that you really withdraw wide awareness and come into a more focused awareness. So what do you notice? The first foundation of mindfulness is body in the body. So that's the senses. Sound. And how about touch? What is the experience of touch right now? Look closely. What is flashing in awareness? Does it change? Does what comes up in awareness change? He says, keeping the mind in perfect tranquility and free from any attachment to appearances. Does sound appear in awareness? Does touch appear in awareness? So I ask you, because this statement is really puzzling, constrained by preconceived notions arising from the senses. When I read that, I thought, well, what else do we have? What else do we have but experience through the senses? There's a word that could pop up in mind here, but it's a word, and it doesn't help unless you get it directly. And the word is, does anybody know what it is? Awareness. So when in a concentrated state, following the breath, following the sensation of touch or sound, arising in awareness, it invites us to begin to practice with the question, what is awareness itself directly?
Is it the same thing as prajna?
What?
The same thing as prajna?
That's another word, it's another concept. What we can do is look, so what is awareness itself? What do I experience of that? Is it possible to experience awareness without an object of awareness? These are really basic, early Buddha teachings, actually. Is it possible? So one of the things that happens, I won't keep going. I of course have gobs of stuff in my notes, but one of the results of looking into the question, is there anything that can be experienced? Can pure awareness be experienced? The effect of that is it deepens concentration because you're really looking. Like, see what I mean? And that is the function of the teachings, exactly. To one thing or another inspires us to really look, to really take a look, to not take for granted our conventional, our habitual notions about who we are and what this world is and what experience is all about, but to really develop a practice of direct looking. Thich always says, look more deeply. Look more deeply. Next time you bite into an apple, a juicy apple, what else? What else is in that experience that you might never have noticed before? It's not just the senses. It can also be the evaluation of this is pleasurable. So he names this. Let's see, where did I find that? He includes, the object of awareness is not just senses, but it's all conceptual formats, thoughts, dreams, fantasies, memories. Those are all objects in our awareness, many of which arise spontaneously, some of which arise invariably and are tormenting thoughts, or happy thoughts, remembering something that was just sweet and lovely. You just bring it back and it transforms the moment. That's a thought and awareness. So these are a lot of words and concepts. If practicing Zen, we hear all of these. So that's why we do Dharma talks, is to kind of plumb them a bit, plow them. But it's essential to go beyond the intellectual to the heart of practice. And this direct, intimate life, this mystery of our life that's always simple. It's marked by simplicity. It's immediate. It's complete. It's genuine. So let's finish by chanting the chant of the Dharma Sutra again.
Star and dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom and a dream. So is this fleeting world, a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom and a dream. So is this fleeting world, a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom and a dream. So is this fleeting world.
Let's turn to page 5 in your chant book.